It's sometimes called weed light. Delta-8 THC comes in many forms, like gummies and vaping cartridges. A new study found approximately 11% of American high school seniors reported using the largely unregulated cannabis compound.
This is a tremendous concern.
Mayo Clinic addiction medicine specialist Dr. Holly Geyer explains it's similar to delta-9 THC, which is the chemical commonly associated with the high someone feels after ingesting marijuana.
Very much has its own psychoactive, meaning brain-changing chemical profile, and that's why it's under a lot of scrutiny.
Dr. Geyer says scientists don't fully understand how delta-8 affects the body, and more than 1 in 10 teens using it is noteworthy and alarming. Researchers call it a potential public health concern.
We know very little about this drug, and so anything that's greater than 10% being used across America in our kids could be a tremendous warning sign.
The new study found the prevalence of delta-8 use was greater in states where recreational marijuana is not legal. Right now, delta-8 products can be bought at Arizona convenience stores and smoke shops. But this week, Attorney General Chris Mays argued that is illegal. She says only businesses licensed by the Department of Health Services as cannabis sellers can offer delta-8.
Because delta-8 really has no regulation, it's not technically the delta-9 THC. It's found its way into gas stations, into locations across the state that are easily accessible by people under age 18.
The AG's opinion is not legally binding in the same way a court order is, but it's her understanding of state law and she expects businesses to comply. DHS is currently reviewing it with their legal counsel to determine if and how this will affect enforcement.
So, Michaela, we know here in Arizona, recreational marijuana is legal for adults, but there's a bill working its way through the state legislature right now to actually regulate hemp products, including delta-8. Where does that bill stand right now?
Well, the Senate just approved legislation this week that could open up the AG's opinion to more debate. The bill would permit sales of intoxicants like delta-8 products at places like smoke shops, but not for anyone under 21. This proposal would put the Department of Agriculture in charge of licensing and regulation, not DHS, which enforces Arizona's current marijuana laws. Meanwhile, another bill recently passed the House that would restrict cannabis advertising, so it is not marketed to children.
All right, Michaela, keep us updated on where those bills go. Thanks for that.